All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is something new that we're trying. There we go. Something new that we're trying. I'm looking to put together a series of chats with people. Just looking to connect with people, get stories and perspectives or thoughts out there. Just really capture some of these things and hopefully share them in a way that people find meaningful, that they find interesting. I'm really very new to this, guys. This is literally the first time I'm doing something like this, but I think it could be a lot of fun. I think it could be a lot of stories, a lot of perspectives to learn from and to grow from and to share as a community. And so we're getting started on something. So if at any point in time you watch and you're like, man, this could be done so much better, or there's this idea that you have, scribble it down, get it down, and then contact me. Okay? And here joining me as my very first guest is Amarbold. Whoa! Give it up for Amarbold. Okay, yeah, and so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna chat about something that's on Amarbold's mind, have a good conversation about it, and then we'll see how it goes from there. All right, so let's begin. Amarbold,
Cool.
what you got for us today?
All right, thanks, man. Thanks, Mark. For what I've got today, it's not really like a well-developed thought. It's not something that I've reflected upon for like that long of a time. It's more of like a musing. I think that's something up the alley of this show as well.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about pain.
Pain. Okay.
Pain.
Pain. Yeah.
I'm taking this from like as value neutral as perspective as possible. Of course, pain is something that we can all agree that it's a negative for what we experience. Of course, there are good kinds of pain, like after you work out and you feel a bit sore the next day. I think that's like a reminder of what you did and it's kind of accomplishment. And there are things that can be good, that can be associated with certain kinds of pain.
Okay. So good pain.
There's good pain, yeah.
Good
Exactly.
pain. Yep.
But I guess the pain that I was thinking about was the kind of pain that leaves no room for thought about anything else. And I just thought about like pain as something that just occupies your existence, It doesn't, it can be moved to the side during the day.
Okay.
Like there are definitely times where if you get rid of something, but like when you're about to go to bed or like it rains and you have achy joints or something, like that's the time when it comes up, and then your experience is just limited
By pain.
By pain, your thoughts just go back to the pain. And what made me think about this?
Okay. Yeah.
It's like an instigated to this as well. I personally wasn't feeling too well for the last couple of days.
Okay.
I had some kind of stomach flu. I mean, that's totally tolerable, but I was having fevers day in, day out.
Yikes.
I wasn't feeling too well at the time. It's like, I could be better.
Fever and stomach flu.
Exactly.
And he says, it could be better.
It could be better, exactly.
We've got a pretty tough one here.
Yeah. But before then, like days before, I had stubbed my toe. So I was having that to go through as well.
Okay.
I was everything was kind of overlapping with each other.
Yeah.
So it's like this hierarchy of like physical pain I was going through, and just made me think about pain as like this debilitating thing. If you're feeling pain in some way or form, like for example, if you have a headache, or if you're going through these things, I mean, it can be emotional, it can be mental as well. I mean, your thoughts are just immediately going to that pain.
Yeah.
And it's made me think about like how limited our experiences are as human beings.
Okay.
That fundamentally, like just in terms of the phenomena we experience day to day, they're so entwined with our physical experiences, what we feel through our bodies, and of course the things that belabor us, the things that are on our minds. And those just kind of eat at you.
Yeah.
And those can be the things that occupy your soul even. Like, I mean, at some point, you don't have anything but kind of the experience of pain. And that's kind of what I was thinking about for other people. Like, what are people going through?
Mm.
And how fundamentally limited we are.
Mm.
And we can't experience that pain for ourselves.
Right.
Or we can't. Of course, at some level, you can sympathize, you can empathize,
Mm-hmm.
you can come from a position where maybe you had some kind of common experience,
Yep. Yep.
and you can know where they're coming from.
Mm.
But at the same time, like, it's a similar realm of like, I literally can't look through the back of my head because I don't have eyes there, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So there are just some things we're limited by.
Mm.
It just made me think about how limited our experience is as people,
Mm.
and that's a fundamental part of it, our existence.
Mm.
And it made me think about the things that can be done.
Yeah.
You know, what are the ways of working around them?
Yeah.
What are the ways of bridging the gap between my experience and your experience?
Yeah. Mm. And so to tie this into some of the things you were saying about pain and how limited we are by it, I think there are a couple of components you mentioned there. You know, for example, the bodily experience,
Yeah.
and I think that's a component of how limited we are at times, in the sense that we realize, wow, you know, things in the physical really do affect us.
Yeah.
And I think to catch on to some of what you're saying, it's almost as if you were, would you say you were surprised by how, you know, how much focus physical pain could occupy you? But it's interesting, you know, why do we find that surprising? Is it because we think that there should be something beyond the physical, you know? That
Yeah.
shouldn't our experiences mean more than just the physical? And that's a question to ponder when we say that, you know, why is it so much of our focus is taken away from something physical? So that's one thing that is, I think, really interesting. And then the second thing that came to my mind as you were sharing about what you did is that how limited we are in our experiences, and how whether it's pain, for example, or something else that's very felt, they can still be very different between two people.
Yeah.
And we may not always understand, I think you mentioned, right? We may not be able to really understand what another person's going through. Just because even if it's, say, physical pain, that genre of pain,
Yeah.
different people would receive it differently and
Yeah.
experience it differently.
Yeah.
And then that begs your question, which is, so then what do we do? Right? And it gets to this question of, do we need to actually understand each other fully before we extend help, before we start to be interested, before we care practically?
Yeah.
I think that these are some versions of your question, I think, when you're saying how we can work around that, right? Because we don't want it to be a case where we just say, you see things differently, I see things differently, you experience pain differently, I experience pain differently. Let's just try and, you know, recognize pain's a bad thing, pain limits us, and then we don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of resign ourselves to the fact that, you know, it's just too different between two people.
Yeah.
I think that's not what we want.
Yeah.
But we do need to recognize that, hey, everybody does experience things a little differently. So do you have any thoughts then towards how we can, you know, bridge some of these gaps, as you were saying, or still connect and reach out to people even while we may not fully understand them over something such as pain?
Absolutely. So just one more thought, just a musing, another
musing. Yes, let's go.
It just made me think about the times, like, for example, when you are sick and you get like a flu or just like a little head cold, and you just think about, oh, I wish I was healthy right now, and you just think back to the times, like, what does it mean for me to be healthy? Like, I want to be healthy now.
Yeah.
Oh, how I did not appreciate how healthy I was beforehand. That's another thing. I mean, there's no conclusion to that thought, but just that's another thought.
Yeah.
But as to like what actions can be, you know, taken, what can be done in the case of, you know, somebody else feeling pain, I think the number one thing would be, so this is just coming out of our discussion right now,
Yeah, sure.
is precisely, again, to disrupt those feelings as they're arising. So, for example, physical pain, you feel something in your knee, you don't feel that it's feeling too well, it's like there's some weird noises happening when you move it in one way or another.
Okay.
This is true to my life.
No. I laugh because I know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in that instance, if you can, as simply as just touching somebody else, just like give them a pat on the back, or like
That's my knee, but sure.
I know it's your knee. No, I mean like I mean just give them a hug.
Yeah.
If you can add another sensation that's different to the one they're feeling,
Okay.
then perhaps the tension can be taken away from the pain they're feeling.
Right.
But of course, that's impossible for some things. You can't exactly expect that for somebody who's going through a rough time emotionally. But in that case, I also think about language. I also think about the words we speak.
Okay.
Because speaking itself is a physical act. We make sounds with our voices.
Sure. Yeah.
Those sounds themselves are physical things happening. It's the physical act of air being pushed in a certain way.
Vibrations.
It's hitting your ears.
Yep.
And then you process it in your own head. And that's another way.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that I'm necessarily making a brand new deduction or a new conclusion by saying like,
no worries.
like give somebody a hug,
Yeah.
or like tell someone,
Whoa.
yeah, I know, like, or just telling somebody like, oh, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
I can be their help.
Yeah.
I think that's the baseline for what we can do as individuals.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting this hive mind or like telepathy to kind of like remove all obstacles in your head.
Sure.
But I think that's the that's the baseline. I don't think there's anything revelatory or anything being revealed by saying that. I think the same kind of thought process must have been present, in generations past. Like, how do you make somebody feel better?
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think that's kind of what we are limited to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's fascinating because in some sense we again don't look at our limitations as excuses or as something to be, so hung up over and dismal about. That when we say limitations, I think there's a certain kind of negative connotation that comes with that.
Yeah.
But not so, right? Because if we're limited in the fact that we're limited by, say, how physical we sometimes are, how the physical just dominates us so much of the time, then I like your suggestion because it says, well, if the physical means so much and can so negatively affect us so much, well, how about the positive? Shouldn't the positive be able to affect us just as much, right? Because the principle here we're looking at, or at least the consideration is, we're limited in that the physical impacts us severely.
Yeah.
Why must that be a severely negative impact? Why can't it be a severely impact positively?
Yeah.
And you can begin, like you said, by giving a hug to somebody, patting them on the back, clapping them on the back, boy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
No, so I like that.
Yeah,
I like that because it doesn't. Again, it frames, I think, what we mean when we talk about limitations in a way that is more inspiring and activating rather than let's be done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a very uplifting thought. Yeah.
Thank you. It was just organic thought growing out of the conversation. So
look at that.
I'm glad it went somewhere. I'm glad it went somewhere.
Whew, you guys caught a break. Something actually came out of this one. Well, Amarbold, thank you very much for sharing these thoughts and having a chat. And I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling great right now.
You're on the upswing.
I'm an upswing.
Okay.
Things are going on.
Good. Yeah. So allow me to just close this for our viewers. Guys, we really appreciate you for spending your time, watching this. And again, if it wasn't quite clear at the start, because I think we're still figuring out kind of the goals and aims here, but this is really something where I'm hoping to catch some of these musings, as Amarbold mentioned, musings of different people, different thoughts. And if you feel like you haven't had a platform to do so, or you just want to have a good chat and get a message out there, well, I'm hoping that this is an opportunity and an avenue for you to do so. So tentatively, this project has been titled, I'm going to go with Musings with Mark because I'm your host, and then I'll be joined by whoever wants to come onto this little segment. And we do hope that this got you thinking a little bit. And again, as Amarbold mentioned, just get out there, understand what's going on. Sometimes when people are going through pain, even if you can't fully that doesn't mean you can't do something in terms of making them feel better. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us. Give me a hug, buddy. That's what we're talking about.
Thanks, boy.
Hey!
Hey.
All right, thanks guys for watching. We'll catch you next week or next time around. Bye bye.